Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good morning today everyone. Thank you for watching us live on this IG live session. How is everyone doing today? I hope everyone is doing well. All right. Today we are going to do some in conjunction of Pesta Buku IMAN, which is happening currently now from 23rd March to 30th of April 2021. That's a 6-week long of book festival, online book festival. Okay, so what we are having in Pesta Buku IMAN is actually a discount of all imanshop.com, and also what is more interesting are there will be more than 20 Instagram live session that we will be sharing with all of you guys about books, the industry, and also the readers. Right, so for this particular session, we will be talking about a book industry, to be specific. The title would be A Year After the Pivot. How are the bookstores navigating e-commerce and the digitalization of customer engagement? So I will be the moderator today. So my name is Rahma, and with me today would be Mr. Andrew Yap, co-founder and managing director of Book Access, and Dr. Aisha Zainuddin, founder and director of IMAN. Right, so welcome to both of you.
Thank you very much. Hi.
Good morning. How are you?
Hi everyone.
Yeah,
Alright.
yes, fine.
Okay, so I personally always go to both bookstores, okay, for different genre selection and everything. Okay. Right. Okay. So I think we can jump into the session right away.
Yeah.
All
Sure.
right.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So okay. So first of all, so when we say about pivoting the situation and everything, could you share how your bookstores have been doing, both Mr. Andrew and Dr. Aisha? I mean, vaccine is coming soon, and especially for Dr. Aisha had already done her first dose, yeah. And economies are reopening. Do you see any differences in how your sales are performing? Maybe Dr. Aisha first.
Okay, thank you, Rama, for the introduction and also the questions. And I'm also delighted to learn a lot from Book Access. I'm personally always amazed, and it has become our aspiration in terms of pursuing our passion in book industry. So coming to the questions, how's our bookstore has been doing so far? So IMAN has started with a physical bookstore, and we only have one bookstore only. This is quite a niche bookstore that serves a particular customer segment, which is Islamic niche reader segments. So we started back in 2012. By the time we also started our online or e-commerce platform same year. And initially our sales revenue particularly comes from the physical bookstore, but along the year, after we have gone through many phases in terms of understanding our customers and behaviors, and I think the whole of society also adapting to the digitalization and also e-commerce consumers behaviors. We basically invested a lot of our resources in ensuring that we have a better platforms over the years. So when the COVID comes and also PKP also hit the whole countries, at that point of time, thankfully our platforms are much better, and I could say is ready to pivot, adopt to the emerging, or I think increased search of the customer visitors. in terms of to our e-commerce. And unfortunately, our physical bookstores are declining. So in terms of sales, our revenues of our bookstore is reducing to 50%. But our e-commerce actually tripled in revenues for the last 1 year. Or even during PKP times, we quite our e-commerce increase up to 3 to 5 times within that. I mean, comparison to the months previously. So I think it's actually a sign to show that although we still prefer the old interacting with the customers in terms of face-to-face and physical interactions, but at the same time we know that the futurization and online, and we already closed our bookstores recently in view of the declining, and we know that PKP after the PKP and recent PKP made us realize that it's not wise to continue opening it while we are bleeding in terms of the cash and finance. So why not just focus on the e-commerce? And hopefully when the time comes, we have better understanding in terms of how we can better serve and interact with the customers. So rather than having one niche bookstore, perhaps we can design a bookstore that can fit of all our online customers. I do believe customers prefer to have both online and also offline experience, but those are the things that we will look forward in terms of the next 1 or 2 years to come. So yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Dr. I mean, IMAN is navigating from to e-commerce. You have 11 outlets now, if I'm not mistaken, your physical bookstores.
I think,
Mr. Andrew?
Wait. Sorry, I was muted.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
So,
Okay, please.
yeah. We are about 13 bookstores as of now,
All
and
right.
we will by the end of the year we should be stores.
Mm-hmm.
We are
Mm-hmm.
expecting 7 more stores, and also one reason why I can really relate to what Dr. Aisha mentioned just then, in regards to COVID and and the difficulties of running the physical stores. And I think is I really applaud her for having the courage to actually close the stores and all. It's not an easy move because prior to COVID, we were so physical. We hardly have any online presence, and we were just very very old school. Even Big Bad Wolf and all the countries that we go, we even go to first world countries, but we were doing things the old way, right? And then suddenly when COVID came, we totally lost all our revenue, and we were not ready for the online part of the business. So we just had to overnight convert the whole warehouse into a e-commerce warehouse. So that was a really difficult part, not having the proper systems. And rightly, as what Dr. Aisha mentioned, her sales went up 3 times, right? For us, it went up almost like 15 times, but because we were really starting on a very tiny base, so 15 times seems a lot, right? Yeah. But the thing is, the size of the company, we had 800, 600, no, sorry, 680 of us, and then with no revenue, and our OPEX was like almost 8-9 million a month, and you don't have revenue, right? So if this pandemic continues for 10 months, you literally you burn a 18 million ringgit hole, right? And so we had no choice but to quickly pivot the company online. We actually had plans to go online, but not so soon. It was supposed to be in 2 or 3 years' time. The mission was always to seed the market first, get everyone reading, then only bring the online presence. So I mean, plans were there for online, but not yet. We felt that Malaysia, or not only Malaysia, that most of the countries that we were in, developing countries, was not ready to buy books online. Yes, there will be people buying books online, but not at the scale that we needed. Because what we do is always a volume game, and so we had the plans, but just was holding back, and now we had to accelerate the plans immediately. So we took the time during the first lockdown to actually uh, convert the whole warehouse, our systems and everything into e-commerce. Yeah, and then in the meantime, we have so many stores, and a lot of them are very big. We cannot just get out the list and all. So, and it was just a very unique opportunity, because, like you mentioned, 11 stores, now 13, and then 20 by the end of the year. If you include pop-up stores, right, you'll probably be around 30. And why all of you are saying, how come so many stores at a time like this, when the economy is not good and all, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's also retail in general is having a tough time, and some businesses can't make it, right, and then they close. So the malls can't leave the stores empty. So it's also a good opportunity for us to work with the mall, right, to take advantage of the situation where we can have a pop-up store, because a pop-up store doesn't cost much, right? And to I mean, in terms of to make it commercially viable, I think we all in the book industry, so we know that Malaysians do want to read. It's just that
Yes.
either books are not accessible or it's not affordable, right? And so our books are affordable, so we just want to make it accessible, and having all the being able to present books to Malaysians. That is a key thing. You need to put a book in front of a child, right? So having a very good footprint is also very important. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Andrew and Dr. Aisha. Good opening for our session today. Um, that's a lot, 15 times growth in the MCO, yeah. All right. As both of you said about offline experience, bookstores indeed hold a special place in our community, and are more than just a store. It is an experience that we want to bring our families, our kids, right? So could you both tell me what your vision was when you started your bookstore business? What did you imagine and what gaps were you trying to fill in? I mean, for IMAN, I mean, you want to vision on some certain community or certain genre, and for book access, I mean, your best selling is always children's book. Is that what you are trying to fill in? So, yeah. So maybe Dr. Aisha first.
So when we started IMAN shop bookstore, it was unplanned actually, because I have the vision of having my own hospital, not a bookstore. But when I come back from UK after I studied there and worked there for about 8 years, so there is a gap in terms of Islamic books niche bookstore. So I mean the only Islamic bookstore that we can reach is actually at the Central Market at the Petaling Street. Sorry, Masjid Jamek around the area. So we have to, go through traffic jams and even use LRT to get there. And even then, the store is very, very sort of like secluded, and sometimes feel unsafe also to go there. I'm a book avid readers myself. I love reading books, especially fictions, and mainly my interest more on the Islamic spiritual contents and spiritual contents. So and I do believe that the other people also have the same interest. So I was thinking, why not, and select few books that I also prefer to read. and then bring it to the place that is more accessible to students and also to my friends. So I have a group of friends as well as I also be part of one of the Islamic NGO who normally have weekly tutorial Islamic classes or monthly Islamic seminars. So those seminars and those classes needs books. So I choose the place where most of the seminars normally concentrated in terms of their program. So we choose around Serdang and Sri Kembangan, and that's how IMAN shop was started. So there's a gap in terms of Islamic niche bookstore that serve a group of people who have class and also seminars. But at the same time, we also have a group of students who prefers to be having more access in terms of Islamic books, which is more general. At the point of time also, there's not many publishers who produce Islamic content books. So at the point of time, 2012, there's a lot of, in Malaysia itself, there's a lot of Islamic books, but not much. There's still a huge amount of gap in terms of Islamic contents. So we bring a lot of books from Indonesia mainly, and some of it also from UK, but very small numbers. So we started from bringing the book from Indonesia, and at the point of time, I think 2013, 2014, there is also a surge increment on terms of Islamic book publication. So PTS, Lagu Biru also produce a lot of Islamic books, and that some of them that we bring into our bookstores. And 2013 also, we learn and also notice there is a gap in terms of what kind of books that our readers wanted to have. And that's where we started our publication company, which is IMAN Publication at that point of time. And that's where we started I call it as a hybrid business model, in which we're not just selling other publishers' book, but we also publish the book that we believe that our customer need and want to have and read the books. That's how we actually sort of like sail through along the way. So our business model is still quite focused in terms of serving our Islamic niche readers, and hopefully we can actually expand the contents to a more general to fit a wider customer base in Malaysia. So my vision is always probably IMAN can have or can become Islamic version of Kinokuniya. We see how it is. Always inspired by how well Kinokuniya has been doing for the last 20 years or maybe more. So hopefully one day IMAN could be like that, and to serve our niche customer, which is the one that interest in Islamic values or Islamic content books.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Aisha. Inspiring vision, and I also remember at that time we need to wait for anyone to come back from the overseas to get some books on the Islamic niche content, right? So hopefully Islamic version of Kinokuniya will be a dream come true, inshallah. Okay.
InsyaAllah.
All right. So for Mr. Andrew, how do you see bookstores and what gaps book access is trying to fill?
So Dr. Aisha, which is, started, with just a very simple idea, and you see where we are now. And similarly, with us also, like you mentioned, bookstores hold a special place in the community. I also think that booksellers also hold a very special place. The bookseller, the person that starts the business, the person that drives the business, because a true bookseller like Dr. Aisha, starting it and doing it for the right reasons is very important. It's a very challenging industry, so she will definitely know, and you guys can actually relate to where I'm coming from, right? It's not easy. It's not easy industry to navigate, a lot of challenges, and you're fighting against the tidal wave of digitalization and digital media and all, right? And so finding our own footing, in where we stand and all is really key, right? So the the idea for book access was to have or basically to make Malaysia a better place. I mean, we all know that there's so much going on in the country that it's basically up to the people. People need to be more well read. People need to be more informed, right? And bringing knowledge to the people, making it accessible was very important to us. And one of the main reasons why the declining readership, I mean, is was the cost of the books and the availability of the books. Like I mentioned just then, people want to read, but they just can't afford to read. So making it possible, when we started our first bookstore, it was only 500 square feet, and we'll never expect, to grow to this size, right? And it was just one thing that led to one another, right? Knowing that it's an industry where everyone call it a sunset industry. Even the banks also won't believe us, right? What we are doing and all. And I truly believe that, despite all the challenges that we, Dr. Aisha, and myself and all, booksellers need to come together, right, to be able to first serve the mission, and Iman Publications has always been very supportive in the big book sale, right? And you see, when we managed to do our first and second and third big book sale, so many people came to the event. We're just championing the English language, and as a Malaysian, I felt that our local language, the Malay language is very important. We cannot lose that identity. The our multiracial mix, is what makes Malaysia special. We always say Malaysia has the best food, and Malaysia cannot have the best food in the world if it's only one race, because we have all few different races, right? So, and I felt that we are able to attract so many people, and that's when we approach Mabopa and all that, to have local books at the fair because we can attract so many people. So why don't we carve out a space for them, and so we want to do and we want to be inclusive, so the deal was very easy. There's no barrier to come in. You just bring your books. Whatever we sell, we take a percentage out of it, right? So the barrier to entry was very easy, and everyone could be there, right? So these initiatives uh, uh, it's very important, for the booksellers, to come together as one, or publishers, to come together as one, to achieve each individual missions of why we started the business. And one thing that I would like to point out also is like, we need to engage, right? So hearing Dr. Aisha's dream of having, the Kinokuniya of Islamic books, right? We can come together. I mean, we're opening so many stores, right? So and taking a break from retail, we are moving forward. So how we can assist you guys on the offline part where you don't have, at the moment. Yeah. So like I mentioned, this what are the gaps that we are trying to fill, when we started, these are all the gaps that people don't see. Yeah, everyone knows the gaps, not enough bookstores, reader, blah blah blah, that kind of thing, right? But most importantly is I think the big gap is actually at the back end of the industry where we all need to get together, and form alliance, to 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 serve the mission first before anything else.
Yeah, okay. That's his. I mean, that's a very strong intention there on building up the industry itself, right? So I mean, when you said booksellers need to come together, that's very powerful statement. Yeah, to serve the mission. I mean, in Malaysia, the readers are everywhere actually, but it is our responsibility to serve them, right? All right. So when Mr. Andrew, when you mentioned just now on in the early of our conversation about book access having physical bookstores and also navigating to e-commerce. So were there any other competitors who did the same thing? I mean, you have lots of physical bookstores and e-commerce at the same time. I mean, as what Dr. Aisha mentioned just now, we have closed physical bookstores. So what the reception that you have received? I mean, how did COVID strengthen or challenge your position as an online bookstores? And yeah, I will continue the question after this. I mean, how do you see your position as online bookstores with lots of physical bookstores too?
I think because we are in a very different business model, but for us, having a strong online and offline presence is very important because we are very mass, right? So I believe that post COVID, any bookstore or business, more to any business that is robust, should have a very strong online and offline presence, right? And so it might not be now, but later on, finding like I mentioned, like Dr. Aisha mentioned, that IMAN is taking a break from the physical side, but they could come back later or could come back together with us. Like I said, we're having so many stores. Our stores are so big. Averagely the new stores that we are building is almost 20,000 square feet, right? So it is basically how we skin the cat, right? And coming together to find the quickest possible solution. And it's very important to find the quickest possible solution because every day that we are slow in getting the books out to the people is very damaging because a lot of people don't if you put it in perspective, right? uh, Reading is so important to the brain, just like how you feed your stomach. So can you imagine a child that is hungry and what damage would do to the child's health if the child doesn't get food? Correct. So if you look at it as I mean the development of the child and the brain of a person, right? If they don't have the knowledge, it's brain food, right? And the slower we grow, the slower we push this, everyone suffers. The nation suffers, right? So that's why because not everybody is online, and then you have to fight with so many people out there for the online presence. It's getting so hot that every company literally is online now, and then throwing so much advertising dollar and all, right? So is I mean for us is because of our scale, it's very scary. Just to be online, and we felt that the physical side is also very important. So how the physical side can leverage on the online side? Yes, online is doing very well because COVID has taught Malaysians that you don't have to go to the mall every weekend, right? Maybe once or twice a week. So if once or twice a week, right, you already lost 30 to 40% of your customers, right? So 30 to 40% people will not go offline anymore to physical stores, and that's why the boost in online sales and the importance of online, right? And so, but how do you get those customers that you have lost to go back to the physical stores, right? So if you have the offline presence, you market to those, you give them vouchers or whatever to come back to the stores, and then when they come to the store, you give them vouchers to go online, right? So then so you leverage on each other. I mean, to build a very complete business, and not everyone or every bookseller or publisher has that the opportunity to do that. Hence, back to collaborations again. I think collaborations is the key driver for the industry, right? And for the people to benefit. And don't look at each uh, bookstore as like one. Look at the industry together, and how we can collaborate, and to see each other's strengths. Like we are totally devoid of Islamic books, and majority of our customers are Muslims, right? So this is where I want to speak to Dr. Aisha, like how we can fill that void, right? And we have something which Imam doesn't have at the moment, and so and let's come together and do this really quick, because every second, every day that we waste, you know, the nation suffers.
Yeah, okay. So maybe Iman can bring their book. It's a different discussion then. All right. So right. Thank you, Mr. Andrew and Dr. Aisha. I mean, we are nearing our finishing time, but I hope you can spend some more few minutes with me and few questions. All right. So we go back to Mr. Andrew about how Big Bad Wolf start, and when just now you mentioned Big Bad Wolf is where you want to get people to read in quick pace and getting the hype and everything. So how did COVID change this? Yeah.
So I think they were one of the most scariest moment, because actually Big Bad Wolf was like export was 95% of our market, right? And we were in 12 different countries and 30 overseas around the world, right? That particular year. So having zero revenue was of course very scary, and what we needed to do was find a solution out of this, because it seems it worked in Malaysia, where because our online sales jump, everybody's online sales jump, because they couldn't go to the stores. So we couldn't do the big value sales in other countries, because it was an event and we can't hold events. So get the books across, so we had to go online, but then we cannot set up in another country online, right? And so we had to do it from here, and we knew that all the countries that we go to, there is no competitor, meaning that uh, there is no other options for good, affordable price books other than us. And last time when we used to go online, we offline, right? We bring the books there, and customers can buy immediately. So right now, we thought that since the customers don't have any other option, we are the only option. They would basically buy online from us, right? And then you just have to wait, 2 or 3 weeks before the books arrive, versus not having books at all, right? So, but the key thing was international logistics, courier is extremely expensive, right? So imagine if you want to send, 7 to 10 books to Bangkok, it will cost you at least 200 to 300 ringgit, right? So how is the customer going to pay so much for logistics? And that is when we came up with the idea of doing the big I would say online. You get 20 30,000 orders at the same time. You pack all these 20 30,000 orders together, because when you go to, let's say, a courier company, you say, oh, I have one box to ship to Bangkok, and this box is going to cost you 200 300 ringgit to ship the box. And we tell the courier company, okay, we give you volume now. I have 30,000 boxes to ship one time. I want a big discount, right? And to the courier company is that, if they don't do it with us, we'll do it another courier company, right? And so, and it's never been done before, right? So, they tried. I mean, they worked with us. They're willing to give it a shot, and so we did the event, like let's say Big Bad Wolf sale online, right? But we did it for, let's say, Sri Lanka, and so we had the 20 30,000 orders. We pack it immediately, and then off it goes once, right? And so we managed to bring down the logistic cost to, let's say, almost 80% or 85%. So that makes it viable for the customer, suddenly to be able to buy the books from us, all the way from Malaysia. And then sometimes even if they hit the correct threshold, they get free shipping. Yeah. So that was one of the key factor that we needed to get to overcome, to get where we want to go, and where moving forward, the future for Big Bad Wolf. And last month, or actually in fact this month, right, it was our first hybrid sale, where we did the Big Bad Wolf sale, right, in Johor Bahru, online and offline at the same time. Initially, it was just supposed to be the offline sale, right? Like a typical Big Bad Wolf. But the difference was we have it in two different venues because of social distancing. Have, let's say, 200 people in the hall, but we needed more people, right? So we had it in two different venues in Johor Bahru. The customer could choose which one to go. So we were able to split the crowd. One of the reasons also why Big Bad Wolf in Kuala Lumpur is 24 hours, because when we did it, excuse me, when we initially did it regular hours, there were too many people and customers were not comfortable. That's one of the reasons why we did 24 hours, so we can spread the crowd. So for this post-COVID events, right? Given the issues with social distancing, having two events, we split the crowd. And then we thought, since we're going to spend, so much money advertising for the offline sale, why don't we give the customers like, to buy online too? So it becomes a hybrid sale where when we advertise, hey, the Big Value sale is coming to Johor Bahru, and that kind of thing. And then if you don't want to go to the physical event, you can go to Big Value online, and buy the books too, right? And this will serve the rest of the nation, since we are going to put so much advertising dollar in the particular advertisement. Yeah. So that's what we've been up to, post COVID. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's very interesting on how Big Bad Wolf itself striving throughout the pandemic. So, Dr. Aisha, Iman also has a loyal following tribe with Iman Shop, like BBW. So when you navigate to e-commerce, how do you tell your customers, and what are the challenges? How did your customer respond to this?
So the majority of our customers are actually from online rather than from our, or through our books or through our bookstores. So our bookstores customer normally also are online, but our online sometimes, do not go to our bookstore because we only have one bookstore. And the way we initially interact with them and introduce our brand early the years, actually, also through our social media. So they become our social media followers for quite some times. So hence we basically sort of like inform them, and then everyone seems to understand, and they know, and they prefer actually to have a bookstore. But since we have a small number of niche customers who become our loyal, consistent visitors, we are unable to just depending on that small numbers. So I know that if for us to survive the bookstores retail game, so we have to increase our number of customer base in terms of the population that actually living or concentrated around that area. So and after we did some projections, and we know that our main customers are normally consume the content through online. So that's why we make the decision that for the timing we sort of like put a pause in terms of our bookstore retail. So interestingly, Andrew offered a hand to discuss further. I would look forward for that, for us to plan and find ways on how can we not just started back our bookstore retail game, but to be really successful in it. So the key things about book business, we want to ensure that not just the consistency, but also the sustainability of the business. As Andrew mentioned initially as well, that this is a very challenging games and also industries. People have options in terms of consuming the content from the books or free content from online. And how do we actually competing the attention of the people? So as more online information is available, so and then in terms of the psychographic and psychological behavior of the consumers changing between focused, concentrated readers to become much distracted readers due to the online environment. So we are facing the challenge not by the among the booksellers, among the book publishers, where we actually find the challenges and also the what do you call it, the adversity comes from the behavior and the online information that comes to us on the constant basis. So I think the challenge is always stay true to our unique selling point or unique selling proposition, offering the products and also contents that they cannot consume, make it available just through online. So they have to buy our books, they have to buy our content so that they can have meaningful content that impacted their life. So I think we stay true to our customers, regardless whether they come to our bookstore, they come to our online. And our mission is to give them the best possible contents that could benefit it and also to improve their life. So obviously, we're thinking about retail gain. We are actually need to look forward in terms of finding the data or the true measurement whether our customer really want to go to the bookstores. So whether our customers really enjoy being together with the book readers in the bookstores. So if we're thinking about having another bookstores, I am more thinking about the hybrid online or also offline experience, as well as more personalized and customers engagement approach even in the bookstore itself. So we're thinking more on the sustainability. So whatever happens to the country again or to the world again, as we know that our bookstore will be survive. So again, as I echoing what Andrew said previously also, that we in the book industry, we are actually working and serving to save and also to impact the society, ensuring that our society becoming a developed countries, not just building a big buildings, having what do you call it, grand malls, but we want our society, our people having a very intellectual and also high achievable in terms of their potential, being basically the best person that can be as good as a high standard as the global players. So eventually, I do believe for us also, we go international in terms of our books publication rather than like book access. You guys actually go to the other countries, being a global player in terms of expanding your book seller penetrations on those countries. But for IMAN, in terms of the globalization of our products, we are at this moment taking more towards our contents expansion, our contents penetrations. So at this moment of time, we are trying to penetrate our book publication penetration to European market by selling our rights, and we also look at other Asian markets like Indonesia, who also consume sort of Malay language contents. So back to your question, Rahma, in terms of how do we communicate with our customers and how do they actually I know receiving the impact. So of course, those who were actually together with me in the beginning don't know our journey from the beginning. Also, we always feel sad, because the first books always have the special moment in our heart. But eventually we know this is the thing that we inevitably have to make the decision, and hopefully when the time comes, we'll be able to come back with a better service and better solutions, as well as the better place, not just for them as an adult, but also as a parents who bring their childrens, and also the place that all the book lovers can get together and build the community among around the bookstore itself.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Aisha. So I mean, our IG live session is about a year after the pivot, how the bookstores navigating e-commerce and the digitalization of customers' engagement, and what I can conclude from both of your insights and sharing, very valuable sharing from both of you, Mr. Andrew and Dr. Aisha. I mean, whether you are opt for offline and online experience and customers engagement, it is very important to stick to your USP or unique selling point and being true with what you want to serve the market or the nation, the community as a whole. Right, so I think last two questions for both of you. What is your hope for your business and the future of bookstores? And what advice would you want to give to other bookstores, other industry players who'd like to make this digital pivot too? Yes. So Dr. Aisha first.
Our vision is to become the biggest Islamic online bookstore first, and hopefully after that, we have enough any data and resources. Our team is ready. I look forward to having a bookstore because I know, and Andrew has more experience in this. I know that the retail bookstore is a capital extensive game, and I know there's a lot of risk in the capital risk business. But for me, in order for us to go big, we have to ensure our fundamental is right. That comes from our own people and also our own customers. And then when we actually build the foundation, is actually an organic foundation rather than just what do you call it, the mass of it. So in order to do that as well, we need to understand what does our customer really wants and what do they want to consume. And the next 2 or 3 years, our focus is mainly to ensuring that our content acquisition, our content development is has a good cycle, not just cycle, but has a good depth and understanding in terms of knowing what we can actually serve and contribute for the next 3-4 years in terms of content. So when we actually go back to our retail bookstore, we have enough and then confidence in order to build a successful bookstores. And my advice to the bookstore who like to make this digital pivot, of course, we cannot run away from digitalization. It's either we do it now or later. Everyone have to adapt to it because it's that's the future anyways. But decide on your adaptation growth or adaptation rate, because every company, every team has different adaptation rate depending on the size, depending on your readiness. But I guess all the business need to have this hybrid approach or omni-channel approach. Some of the book states that so that everyone interact. I mean, 90% of the population is using mobile and they have the internet access just on their hands. So we're going to miss the opportunity if we're not having a strong internet presence, because eventually if the current generation is not actually into the internet in terms of finding the information, our future new generation will actually having more internet penetration. I mean, our Gen Z will definitely have more literacy in terms of the internet. So they become the leaders of the customer internet market. So I think this is a way forward that everyone have to adapt. But take time to learn, and then getting new team members who actually digital every, so that they can actually promote the culture of digitalization. I always believe digital is actually a tools, but the most important thing is the process on why we are using the tools. So ensuring that all of the business owners in the book industry, whether you are booksellers or book publication, ensuring the right business process is very important, because the digital is actually the tools that help you to ensuring the right decision making, or also to speed up the decision. So if you don't have the right process, even digitalization or digital tools will not give much benefits to your business.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Aisha. Okay, so how about Andrew? What's your hope for your business and what advice you want to give to the industry player?
I think the hope for, I mean, what I would really like to do is, and to see is, prior to COVID, we were expanding feedback books, right? And we had a very good business model going for the collaboration with all the local publishers. I would definitely like to see that kick-started again, uh, because the past 15 20 years, there's a lot of changes in the book industry, right? And it has always been very tough on the publishing end. And what we wanted to do was, because we booksellers can do something the publishers can't, and publishers can't do what the booksellers can, right? So one of the reasons I felt that uh, the it's only a few percent of the world is reading, and in order to get the whole world reading, we needed to make books more accessible and affordable. But if you go to the publisher and say that, if you can sell 10 times more in volume, you can bring the price down. Yes, the publisher knows this, but who is going to do it for the publisher? Who is going to move that kind of volume? That is why we we started expanding Big Barrel around the world, because we needed the volume. Because if you are just localized, most bookstores in the world is all localized. Either they are in their own country or the neighboring country. You don't have the volume, and when you so you cannot prove to the publisher that it can be done. That there's a change to a new business model, right? Sell 10 times more, right? And so we were moving in that direction, and then suddenly COVID came. You had to pull the handbrake, everything stopped. So my hope is, now with the latest sale that we did, Johor Bahru, and then coming Kuala Lumpur this month again, we're going to kickstart that again, and build the restart the relationship with all the publishers. And but this time around, it will be even more special. We want to include book access, and book access is growing. So right, to have like what Dr. Aisha mentioned, they would like to go back into retail too, but she has to tread carefully, right? Because commercially, it also has to make sense. So why don't we all come together, right? Share the burden. We have so many stores, you know, we carry your books, and then see from the data that things are starting to move, right? You're building a physical aspect, through us, and then when you're ready, open the store again, right? So, collaborating basically is about collaboration. That's what I really hope to see. Everyone coming together. It doesn't matter, what kind of books, as long as they are really good and great books. Yeah. And as advice, I think if anyone uh, passionate about books, want to get an industry, uh, you just need to start. It can be small, it can be very messy. We were so messy when we started, even we are still very messy now, right? It doesn't matter. I'm sure that Aisha can relate to. I mean, they are so strong online, but if you hear the nightmare behind the scenes, nobody knows, right? Yeah. So just start. No matter how bad or how ugly your website is, just start, and the improvements will come, by itself. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Andrew and Dr. Aisha. That seems relatable, right, Dr. Aisha? So, I mean, from what I can conclude, again, I mean, that everyone in the industry should ensure how do you really want to use it, and I mean how to start using it to help you do the right decision for your business. I mean, like Mr. Andrew said, 15 to 20 years has changed a lot, and what more 20 years in the future, right? So we have to try to adapt and be ready for it. All right. So I think that's the end of our session. Thank you very much, Mr. Andrew and Dr. Aisha. Again, this is our live session titled "A Year After the Pivot: How Are Bookstores Navigating E-commerce and the Digitalization of Customers' Engagement?" So we are doing this live session in conjunction of Pesta Buku IMAN that that are currently happening in IMAN. So you can go to imanshop.com for all the discount price, the events, and all the events that we have prepared for you. And the nearest event would be Iman Masterclass. So just now, Dr. Aisha mentioned about content acquisition, development, and everything. So in this Iman Masterclass, we will be having our editors that will share how you should write and prepare your manuscript and sort like that. All right, so that will be on the 17th of April, this Saturday, I guess. Right, from 10 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. You can get your tickets from imanshop.com along with our various selection of books. All right, so that's Pesta Buku Iman, and that's the end of our live session today. Thank you again to Mr. Andrew for accepting our invitation, and also Dr. Aisha for being here with us. So thank you and have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me over.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Okay.